The Rams got the win they needed to keep their playoff hopes alive. We got big takeaways. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramily, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, do us a huge favor. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit the like button. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. I've been covering LA sports for over a decade, 24/7 sports, Dodgers Nation, SI, Bleacher Report, Locked On. As always, I'm joined by the Rams pre-half and post-game show host for the Rams flagship radio station, ESPN 710 LA. He's in his 9th season covering your Los Angeles Rams, the People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers. You can follow him on X at Travis Rogers. And on today's episode, we're breaking down the Rams' big win on the road, a must-needed win over the Patriots to get back to 500. We're going to talk about the playoff picture. We're going to get our winners and losers. Lots to get into on today's episode. But first, today's episode of Locked On Rams is brought to you by Hillsdale College. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost, and it's easy to get started. All right, Travis, so the Rams did what they needed to do, and yes, it's going to be an uphill battle. Yes, they're not going to be a favorite in that many more of their final 7 games. Yes, FanDuel has given them the lesser odds to win the division than any team right now. But if you look at the division right now, thanks to Seattle beating the 49ers, the Rams in second place in the division, sitting at 5-5, 2-1 in the NFC West, but they got the much-needed win over the Patriots, 28-22. Defense wasn't as great as we've seen it. We'll talk about Chris Shula's defense, but Matthew Stafford came to play, 4 touchdown passes. Cooper Kupp showed that as a WR2, extremely high level, and then Puka Nacua proved that he's back in a big way.
Yeah, I can't put my finger on what this Rams team is. They were 1-4 and looked lucky to have one win. They've won, they've gone 4-1 in their next 5 and haven't looked great doing it, minus, maybe that Minnesota game. I don't know what this team is other than pretty tough. I think that's the takeaway through the first 10 games of the season, is that this is a team that competes. This is a team that is never really out of a game. This is a team that's never going to put someone away really easily, because that's not the sort of team that they have this year. And it really does feel like you mentioned the odds at FanDuel that they're the last team in the NFC West, despite being only a game out of first place, that they got 3 5-5 teams. Arizona sitting at 6-4. It really does feel like it may come down to that very last weekend of the season, because I think the Rams are getting ready to ping pong between wins and losses over the next couple of weeks here. And, predicting the NFL is a fool's errand, to be sure. But you think about Philadelphia and Buffalo and games like that, those are going to be tough games to win. You think about the Jets, you think about New Orleans, those feels like games they probably should win. So this feels like they're going to go into that last couple of weeks right around 500 with maybe a chance to win the division, maybe a chance to grab a wild card, or maybe a chance to, finish in last place in the division. They're just all over the map this year.
Absolutely. It's tough to really give a honest assessment of this team, just because it's tough to see how they look on a week-to-week basis as far as injuries, as far as the offensive line, who's going to be in there. But the truth is that when this team gives Matthew Stafford time to throw and keeps him clean, they have a chance to win football games. And that's what we saw on Sunday. Matthew Stafford, 18 for 27, 295 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. And I think the first game ball you have to throw out. By the way, Sean McVay gave out like 15 game balls. I'm pretty sure you and I got a game ball. He gave out 7 game balls, including Jimmy Garoppolo got a game ball yesterday. We'll talk about that in a second. But first one really has to go to this offensive line, who kept Matthew Stafford clean all afternoon. It was the third time in the last 4 games you felt really good about this offensive line, a really good, clean effort. And why did they perform better? Well, what do we ask for on Friday's episode? To bench Jonah Jackson. And Jonah Jackson, he did get benched. They went back to Bo Limmer, who's between Steve Avila and Kevin Dotson. Warren McClendon Jr. also got the start at right tackle in place of Rob Havenstein, who's still out, and Joe Noteboom was out. And it's no secret that this offensive line benefits from cohesion, and they showed that this group can give Matthew Stafford time to cook, and they did that on Sunday.
Yeah, no, Stafford was good. The numbers tell you he was good. The eye test tells you he was good. And here's you mentioned the offensive line and how good they were. That Matthew Stafford did not get sacked. That's a huge win for them. Again, the Patriots are not a team that's, exactly coming after the passer like the 85 Bears, but I understand that, clean is clean. Here's the part that I can't quite reconcile in my brain. They're playing a bad team. They didn't give up a sack. They didn't turn the ball over. They took it away twice, and it went down to the final possession of the game. Like this, it's just such an odd, collection of facts where your quarterback is really good. He doesn't get hit. He doesn't throw interceptions. You don't fumble. You get a fumble recovery. You have a late interception. You're playing against a team that's only won 3 games all year long. That's breaking in a rookie quarterback, and it comes down to late in the fourth quarter. I guess that's life in the NFL. That's just the way that it goes. But with your point to the offensive line, I think we've got a pretty good idea now, 10 games into the season, who their best 5 guys are. I think you've got a very clear picture of who that is. And just, left to right, it's A.J. Jackson, it's Steve Avila, it's Bo Limmer at center, Kevin Dotson at right guard, and then when Rob Havenstein comes back, he goes out to gets his spot back at right tackle. Warren McClendon did a really good job yesterday. We didn't talk about him on the postgame show at all. We didn't mention his name until we said, oh, yeah, by the way, we never mentioned his name. That's exactly what you want from an offensive lineman, especially an offensive lineman who's probably, your second swing tackle, somebody that had struggled for a good portion of this year. He went in there and did a really good job. So, hopefully a little depth there. Joe Nopum down for a while, but I do think that the Rams at least have a pretty good answer as to who their 5 best guys are as you head into this final part of the season.
Yeah, and look, I think that one thing this Rams team does is, of all teams in the NFL, they don't worry about the contract they paid someone.
No.
They think that, hey, this is a group that'll give you a better chance to win. So I'm not worried about that with this team. And I know that would be an issue with a lot of teams around this league. And hey, it's a meritocracy, right? And Bo Limmer has proven that he can be that guy, more than competent. Now, other thing that really stood out to me in this one was, look, that's what makes this team so dangerous, and a team that you really can't count out until they're out of it, is the weapons that they do have. Their high-level talent is up there with anyone in the league. You have to pick their best 3, 4, 5 players. They're right up there with anyone in the NFL, and that was evidenced with the performance of Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. And you look at Puka's first half. He came out strong. He gave them what you needed to in the first half, doing a lot of damage. Ends up with 7 catches on 9 targets for 123 yards and a touchdown. And a lot of that came in the first half. But first takeaway from Puka Nacua is, man, love this guy, but dude, he scares the crap out of me watching him. I mean, he gets that touchdown, that 12-yard touchdown catch. It was Air Puka, lays down, dives. I'm thinking he's got injured. Turns out he just threw up. He barfed because he landed on the football. Like literally 2 of the last 10 headlines about him about throwing up in Cooper Kupp's bushes, throwing up because he's landing on the football. What's up with this guy? He's going to make me throw up, watch him or get injured.
Yeah, look, he plays one way, and he's had trouble staying on the field. This goes back to his time in college, that last year, his rookie season in the NFL, was really the first time that he was able to stay on the field for an extended period of time, and you got to see how good of a player he is. Look, anybody that's ever played recess football in 4th grade or whatever, or in the backyard with your brothers or whatnot, has landed on the ball awkwardly, and you know that is a terrible, terrible feeling, and it does not end even if you get to the NFL. So you can kind of see that's what happened. It was such a great catch that, he lays out, he makes a fingertip catch, lands in the end zone right there. But to your larger point, the Rams do have some really high-end guys. They still have a quarterback that can make the ball do whatever it is he wants it to do. You have 2 wide receivers. You have an offensive line that seems to be kind of coming together at the right time. You got a running back that, can be very, very effective. The defense is better week to week, it feels like there. And yet they're 5-5, and yet they had trouble putting away the New England Patriots. It is a very odd team. They're not good. They're not bad. They're tough, and I think it's going to go right down to the wire, because I don't know if they're good enough to start to roll like they did last year, but I also think they're good enough they're going to stay in it right until the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And also Cooper Kupp getting that 69 9-yard touchdown that covers 0. I think the thing really stands out to me is how comfortable Cooper Kupp is in that WR2 role, and how much he benefits from Puka getting all that attention. And I think that this is perfect for where Cooper Kupp is during his career, is that, okay, yeah, I'm accepting that I'm not WR1, but I'm going to eat at WR2.
Oh no, that's a much better spot for him. That's a spot where you can kind of move him over the field. You can get favorable matchups. He's terrific. And if a team like New England or anybody else wants to try to get cute with an all-out blitz, Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp are not going to fall for that. That reminded me so much of what happened in Tampa in the playoffs a few years ago. That if you give them that look, they're going to hit that play over and over and over again. You can see Matthew Stafford kind of running down the field, kind of looking at Sean McVay, kind of the zero, like, dude, what are you guys doing? That this is what happens when you have a veteran football team. They get the right look, they're going to hit big plays. And Kupp is starting to look like Kupp again. But I agree with you, D-Mac. I think that WR2 role is the one for him at this point.
We got more winners and losers from the Rams' big win over the Patriots. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
All right, so time is our most precious commodity. So don't waste it scrolling to the same old mind-numbing content for hours and hours and hours. How can you spend it wisely to improve yourself? That's the question that you should be asking yourself. Hillsdale College, this is how you do it. They're offering more than 40 free, that's right, free online courses, including, and these are just a few of the courses available, Constitution 101, the meaning and history of the Constitution, Introduction to Free Market Economics, The Great American Story, A Land of Hope, The Rise and Fall of the Roman Empire, and a brand new documentary-style course on Marxism, socialism, and communism, right? All of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced so that you can start whenever you want, tune in wherever you want. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or you can just chill and enjoy the lectures instead of going through the same old thing on your phone over and over again. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost. It's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. hillsdale.edu/lockedon. And after you're done learning about the Constitution, why not play a little Prize Picks, right? Constitution, Prize Picks. What doesn't make sense about that, right? Put the Prize Picks app on your phone. Here's what Prize Picks is. You've heard me say this, and it really is this. Pick more, pick less. It is that easy. Yesterday, Matthew Stafford going into the Patriots game, more or less than 225 yards. You wanted the more there. Drake May, right? 205.5 yards. He went over as well. That's Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. And you can win up to 100 times your money at Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. So download the app today, Prize Picks app, put it on your phone. Use that code LOCKEDONNFL, LOCKEDON NFL, to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play that first lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
And we are off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Also, a special shout out to those everyday listeners out there watching and listening to every single episode of Locked On Rams. If you haven't yet, join that Everyday Listeners Club too. You just got to listen to an episode or watch an episode Monday through Friday, and you won't miss a thing about your Los Angeles Rams. All right, Travis, pick it up here. Let's talk about the defense. Now, you're going up against the Patriots, and this, of course, is not an explosive offense, one of the worst in the league. And Drake May has a career day in passing yards, and he's continuing to look more comfortable. But they did create the turnovers. You got to give him credit for that. Braden Fisk, he absolutely destroyed Drake May there in the second quarter to force a fumble. That led to Puka Nacua's 12-yard diving catch touchdown that we talked about earlier. And then they finished the game. They iced it with that interception from Cam Kinchins to end it with 1:44 left to play in the fourth quarter. So they caused a turnover. The cornerback play was a little suspect based on what we've seen recently, but still it's kind of one of those things where you almost felt like they're kind of playing down their competition a little bit, but they did just enough to make sure they got the dub.
They did just enough to win the game. You're right. And I think that's ultimately all that matters, right? It's not how did you get there, it's how did you do? And the Rams won the game. I do think that Drake May is really good. Like, it's the first time I've gotten a chance to really watch him. He's really good. And you could see some flashes in there that once you start to give him some more, NFL caliber weapons, I think that he's going to be somebody that we're talking about quite a bit moving forward. I think there was a defining moment in this game for the Rams defense, and it came with the Rams offense, believe it or not. When Sean McVay opted to punt the ball at the end of the game, that was the moment where Sean McVay realized that maybe his best chance to win football games this season is with this defense on the field rather than with an offense that needs to score a bunch of points to do it. They were on the 35-yard line, and they were getting ready to punt it and pin them deep. That is not what Sean McVay does. That is not how this team plays. It would have been a 52-yard field goal attempt, not a chip shot, especially considering Carty had missed a shorter one early, but still certainly something that an NFL kicker is going to take a shot at. They punted the ball from their own 35-yard line. That is a really interesting development. And by the way, not a terrible decision. Again, you're going against a Patriots team that's struggling to score, struggling to move the ball. I understand that May is going to be good, but he's still a rookie quarterback. And he basically said, give me Jared Verse, give me Byron Young, give me Braden Fisk, Cam Kitchens, put those guys on the field at the end of the game rather than trying to ice it with the offense. I thought that was really, really fascinating and maybe a turning point in the way that this team plays football. That maybe it's a defense first. Let's burn some clock. Let's go at this a little bit differently because the defense, I agree with you, Doug. It was kind of a little bit of a hit and miss day for them, but when they had to have it, they did. And I cannot get over the decision to punt the ball right there. And it was a good decision. It worked. It ultimately let them win the game.
Absolutely. And I'll get on that, but I want to pull up a text message just from back in August when I said, hot take, Drake May gonna have a better career than Caleb Williams. So this is the only proof I have of saying this. I didn't say it on a show or anything like that. This is all the proof I have. So you have to give me that's all I got. So I'm not, you guys know we're not big victory lap guys. I don't do that. That's not kind of it's way too early to declare victory too. It's way too early to declare victory. I just want to put out there that I did that. Maybe I was influenced by a little hateration there, but yeah, absolutely. You're 100% right. That was a move that you're saying, well, is Sean McVay losing confidence already in Joshua Carty? Is Sean McVay worried about his young kicker? Because he's had his moments this year. There's no doubt about that. But at the same token, he missed a 26-yard kick. And that was the shortest missed kick this season in the NFL. And that's definitely not something you want on your resume because, look, we know that that's important for this team is to get points any way they can. And it looked like he had put together a really nice 2-minute drill style drive. The end of the first half was a 62-yard drive, 11 plays, and he had 2 incompletions there in the end zone. They settled for the field goal that would have hopefully put them up 17-10 before the half. But it was a chip shot that Joshua Carty missed in that situation. He pushed it wide right. It actually clanked, by the way. Even though he missed it, don't you just love
that sound?
The football clank is the best sound. It's
the best sound if you're hoping to miss. It's a terrible sound if you're hoping that it goes through because you can hear it through the whole stadium. It's just that hollow bong. It's a very weird sound. Yeah. But
absolutely. But I mean, they definitely. I think what Sean McVay and the kind of mindset was, you're basically putting a lot of confidence that your defense is going to go out there and make plays. And they certainly were able to do that. And they get the big interception late with 1:47 left to play. But let's say he hits him in stride there. That game could have been a tie game with an extra point that could have put them ahead. So, it did feel like they were a little bit of playing with fire. And against the Patriots yesterday, it's tough to say how much they've improved throughout this season, what kind of team they were at that point, because they were a lot better than the Patriots I saw early in the season, but still just not you had to win no matter what. And I think that's the kind of the MO with this Rams team. When they play Philly, you're going to see them go toe to toe with Philly for however long in that game. And if they make plays to execute late, they have a chance of winning.
It's the NFL. It's never easy. Right. The game that the Detroit Lions had against Jacksonville yesterday was a 52-6 or something like that. You don't get those in the NFL very often. Even good teams against bad teams, the game is usually relatively close. And I think that you have a New England team that's slightly below average, maybe a little bit more than that, against a Rams team that is average, and you're going to have a close game. And that's exactly what you got. I think it's interesting. Like, was the decision to punt that because Josh Carty had missed a short one early? It very easily might have been. But then why not run it on third down? Why not, why not get a little closer to try to pick? I think it was 3rd and 7 when they took that shot down the left side. Why not run it there? If it's 4 down territory, also fine. Go ahead and maybe try to pick up the rest of that, or you can still punt from a little closer, or you have a shorter field goal. I think that the Carty piece was in the equation, but I think it was much more that he was comfortable having his defense on the field at the end of the game. And in a weird way, I think that's really exciting about the Rams, that, we never thought that the defense was going to be the leading edge of this team, and it might be. And you saw Fisk have a big day, like you mentioned, the forced fumble, a couple of sacks along the way, and Cam Kitchens with another takeaway to ice the game. This is a football team on that side of the ball that I really do feel is starting to come into its own.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right. I mean, I had in my notes just kind of the game management, the clock management at the end of that game for Sean McVay. Because at that point in the game, is 2:38 left in the clock. You're up 28-22. Rams have it on 1st and 10 at the Patriots 39-yard line. The Pats had 2 timeouts left. Next 3 plays, the Rams took just 15 seconds off the clock, and the Patriots only used 1 of their timeouts that they had left. So they ended up with 1 after that. So Sean McVay, in that stretch, he goes 3 passing plays, completing just 1. And Kyren Williams, who really had an efficient day, averaging 5.7 yards per carry, he did not get 1 carry during that sequence. And that's a sequence where a first down, that ends the game. You're in victory formation, but the Patriots, they got the ball back with a chance to make something happen. And even so, I think at the very least, you're trying to give the Patriots the ball there with under 2 minutes and no timeout. So that was definitely a head scratcher. And then McVay not going that long field goal attempt. He punts it away there at the 35-yard line, but ends up as a win, so you feel good about it, but still definitely a head scratcher. But coming up next, what is next for this Rams team? That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
Get ready to tackle the NFL, all the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Why? Well, I'll tell you why. Because right now, new customers, when you bet just $5, you get $150 in bonus bets if you hit on that $5 bet. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you're watching the game, you get that hunch in the middle of the game. You get that, I know what's going to happen next. I've seen this 100 times before. You can go check out all the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the very same page where you are placing your bets. But you got to go to FanDuel.com. You got to join today, and you will get started with $150 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And the Rams, you got pretty good odds on them winning the NFC West. They're at the bottom right now, or at the top, tied for second. It's all over the place. Good odds, though. Go check it out at FanDuel.com. You got a chance to get on the Rams and maybe make yourself a little money. Go to FanDuel.com.
And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, Travis. So kind of the biggest takeaway from this one is the Rams got the win they needed to stay relevant, to give themselves a chance to at least be in the mix when you look at where the NFC West is. They're just right behind the Commanders when the wild card cutoff line comes out. So they're still in the mix. I mean, as for the way this season's gone, so many close losses, so many wins in so many games you'd like to have back. I mean, losing to the Bears on the road, the getting blasted by the Cardinals in week 2, losing the coin flip to the Lions in week 1. I mean, the Rams have still proven that they can play down to lesser competition but get wins. They can play up to better competition and keep it close. Outside of the cornerback play, which I think absolutely needs to be addressed, they still haven't replaced Jalen Ramsey, a true lockdown style cornerback. They struggle with speed. But outside of that, this team truly can play with anyone on any given Sunday.
I think so.
I'm not saying beat everyone. I'm not saying beat everyone. I'm saying they can go toe to toe and keep things interesting.
Look, they've played 10 games and only one of them has been a blowout, right? The Cardinals blew them out, and that was just an ugly game. That happens to everybody in the league, maybe once or twice a season. They've been in every game they've played, against which, the longer you watch this, clearly the Detroit Lions are the best team in the league. And they gave them, I know the Lions lost to Tampa, but they gave the Lions the best game of the season, I think. So that their best version of themselves is really good. We also saw them carry the Raiders for 4 quarters. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, we also saw them get blown out by a Miami team on Monday night that looked like, I shouldn't say blown out, but lose to a Miami team that they probably should have handled. That Bears game was a game they played. To your point, Doug, they're all over the map. I just have no idea what you're going to get week to week. And I think that's the challenge that Sean McVay has in front of him right now is, do you get the team that beat San Francisco? Do you get the team that went toe-to-toe with Detroit? Do you get the team that at least found a way to win a game on the road, 10 a.m., all the short week stuff in New England? Or do you get the team that just couldn't put the Raiders away, that lost to the Chicago Bears? I don't know. We will see going forward, but I know this: San Francisco's not going to run away and hide. Seattle's not going to run away and hide. I'm still not a true believer in Arizona. The difference with Arizona is their schedule down the last part of the season is really manageable. They got a Carolina game. They've got a New England game. They've got 2 basically, layups on their schedule the rest of the way. The Rams, you look at what they have. They got Buffalo. You got San Francisco. You got 2 more division games against Seattle and Arizona right there. You got a game against the Philadelphia Eagles coming up. So their schedule is far more challenging than some of the others. San Francisco's schedule is brutal down the stretch. So it's going to come down to that last couple of games of the year. They get Seattle in week 17. You get Arizona in week 18. And I bet you a nickel right now, Doug, that when we get to there, the Rams still have a playoff heartbeat. Now, whether they're barely in it or they're already over the line, I don't know, but they're going to be in it come to those last 2 weeks of the season.
Yeah, and that's what you want, right? You just want a chance, and then you hope that with the coaching, with the quarterback, with the talent that they have, that gets them past the finish line. But yeah, I mean, if we're being 100% realistic about this, last 7 games, they'll be favored in 2 of them. The Saints and the Jets, maybe the Seahawks at home. Probably the Seahawks at home by the end of the season. I think that's a safe bet. But I love what you pointed out about the San Francisco 49ers. And the 49ers, they go to Green Bay, they go to Buffalo, they go to Miami, which Miami's looking better. You go to Arizona. Arizona has the easiest schedule. They play a couple bottom feeders. They play the Patriots. They play the Panthers. So they are a team that controls their own destiny. But yeah, look, let's not forget, this is a Rams team that started 1-4. And those wins and losses at the beginning of the season count just the same as November and December. Yep. And there's a reason why FanDuel has the Rams right there with the Seattle Seahawks at plus 500, the worst odds to win the division. But that can change. It's plus 500, right? And this is a team that they owe, after the loss at home to the Dolphins, I think they owe us a win at home against the Philadelphia Eagles, right? And you kind of make up for that.
I wouldn't be surprised. Like that, the Rams can beat anybody. The Rams could also lose to the Jets. You know what I mean? Like, it just, this is the team they are. This is not the team that we've seen before where, they're going to come out and they're going to score their 30 points and we'll see what the defense does. This is a team that week to week has been very inconsistent, a team that's really struggled to find its identity, but a team that's 5-5 and has a heartbeat going into the last part of the season. I'm excited about it. I'm a little nervous about it, but I give them a chance against Philadelphia for sure. But I also give the Jets and the Saints a chance against them moving forward in the next few weeks.
Yeah. Now, the ones that scare me, of course, at San Francisco, going to Levi's Stadium, then Buffalo at home. But still, that's what you want, man. There was a universe where we'd be talking about the draft already, but we're not doing that. So it's definitely a good thing. So that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. And you can follow the People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers, at Travis Rogers. Until next time, whose house is Locked On Rams house?